Hey guys, I'm Ivo and you're watching This Is Soul Skate Shop YouTube. Let's go inside because it's raining in Amsterdam. So here we are dry and I can explain to you what I did today. So with the rain, you want to make your skate rain proof. I did not succeed, but I will tell you what I did. If you want to learn more about skating, if you want to learn more about skating techniques or skating hardware, we have tons of videos already on our channel, so do a deep dive and check them all out. This is a series where we take a very specific skate part and tell you everything there is to know. Today we're going to talk about footpads. These are the things that sit underneath your liner. A lot of people wonder what they are for, and I'll give you the answer in this video. I was thinking about footpads today, so that's why I wanted to record this video. Because especially on my footpad that I have in my skate, there's even a hole in the middle of my footpad. And that's because the power slide next has a hole in the bottom. And it's September now, so it will start to rain a lot in Amsterdam. I want to skate the whole year round, so I don't want to stop in September and start in March. I hope you do too. To skate through the whole winter. We can skate indoors, of course, in parking garages, or maybe there's like some building with a roof. Or we can just skate in the rain. It doesn't really matter that much, unless your skate is rain resistant. And I'll tell you what I did in this video. Let me take off my This Is Soul jacket. We have it in black and we have it in army color. It's the perfect weather for this jacket. You can take out the liner, you can open the arms for ventilation. And it's pretty waterproof. So it's really nice for skating in the rain. And let's start talking about footpads. So these are the things that sit in some skates underneath the liner. And let me just tell you the short summary for what they're for. And that is to protect the liner from the frame mounting bolts or the sole plate bolts. And you can see what that does here in this liner. This is an old liner. And you see the marks here. This liner does not have a protector like this. It doesn't have a footpad, so the wear and tear is on the liner directly. This is great, it's smart of course, but I think in general it's a little bit unnecessary because there's also a lot of brands that don't have this footpad in the liner and that works fine actually. So you do see some wear and tear underneath the liner if it's not there sometimes in some skates. But usually the liner wears down around the heel area, or like the general padding here, wears down a lot quicker than that the bolts and the T-nuts or the rivets will damage the bottom of the liner. Yes, it does protect it, but the liner will be replaced before it's actually necessary anyway. So you can kind of play with these things, either have it in or not. Let me tell you what skates come with footpad like this. All right, let me tell you what skates come with a footpad. And that is, to start with, a lot of skates that have rivets on the inside. The hard boot skates that have like a clean, sleek shape, where they're not in particularly meant to put a frame on a specific spot at, usually don't have like inserts or like recesses for the bolts, and if they don't have that, then the rivets, they stick out a bit. And rivets in particular, they are really sharp, so if you have a riveted skate, it's probably the smartest thing to put it in. There's a couple of these classical skates. I call it the original mount. We have a video about the original mount, and there's only a couple of skates on the market that have the original mount. That is the Power Slide Zoom, the Mesmer Throne, the Razor Sculpt, the DEM 909, and of course the M12 and the Fifth Element. Here you can see an original Fifth Element shell. This is the FCO model, but it's the same shell. And you see the rivets, but this skate actually has a little bit of a recess for those rivets. So the liner is a little bit protected by that, but still, maybe it would have been like normal in that sense if the M12 also came with a footpad like this, but it does not. All the other skates that have an original mount do come with the footpad. So we're talking about the DEM 909, Razor Sculpt, Power Slide Zoom, and the Throne from Mesmer. Here you can see, of course, the Zoom. Behind me are all the other skates. I don't have to show them all. But a lot of those skates that I just mentioned are Powerslide branded skates. Mesmer is of course also part of Powerslide. And in general, all Powerslide hardboot skates have a footpad underneath the liner. If it's an original mount or a Trinity mount or a 165mm mount, doesn't matter. There are different materials. This is the most common one. It's black. I don't know which plastic this is in particular, but this is definitely a different type of plastic. It's much more rigid. It's a little bit thicker. So this one also exists. It's very rare. So the Cult comes with this cardboard one, which is really specific. But the Genesis, the SL, and the Shift come with like a more like normal black one, which is really thin. It's interesting that the Cult comes with this cardboard one because the Impala skates, which you see over there, they come from the same factory and it's the same mold as the Cult, so you can actually put a Cult sole plate on that boot as well. This Impala also comes with the same cardboard one, so that's an interesting fact. So 3 more brands that have the plastic footpad as well are Micro, T-Neck and Echo. Then there are 2 brands that stick out a little bit. Here is Fila, and Fila does not have one, but Fila has a very deep mounting plate here, and they covered it up with this little piece of foam. So that's interesting, where they just patch up only where it's necessary. And then there's FR skates. Here is an FR skate, and FR did something interesting. They covered up the whole bottom of the skate with a piece of foam. Here's an example of that piece of foam. It's just EVA foam, so it's not the same plastic. It's a little bit more cushioning. So FR really sticks out with this. Then, interestingly, skates that don't have a footpad are the Roche skates, which I already told you about. All the rollerblade skates don't have it, but they also have a really nice design with their shock absorber. It's just really sleek on the sole, so it's integrated really nice. There's no sharp edges, and the shock absorber covers, of course, all the the metal parts in the shell. And then the T-nuts in the front are just recessed a little bit, so it doesn't damage the liner. So Rollerblade doesn't have it because they kind of like designed it just really well, I think. And then the standard brand doesn't have it. Same thing with the shock absorber in the back. And the mounting plate in the front is just really flush, so it's not necessary as well, I think. Well, it's not particularly necessary at all, but especially if you design it well, it's okay. Then Flying Eagle is another brand that doesn't have the footboard in it. So we've only talked about hard boots up until now, and in general I think all the soft boots in the market don't have it, because obviously a soft boot has an integrated liner. That's at least the definition that we go with on our website. So if you want to go to our skate section and filter the skates, then you can filter by hard boot and soft boot, and it says behind it with a liner or without a liner. So we interpret the definition of a soft boot that it has an integrated liner, and a hard boot has a removable liner. So obviously there's not a thing like this underneath the liner because there is no liner. There is almost always a footpad like this glued onto either the plastic or the carbon from the skate. So that's always there, and then that's part of the, not part of the line. Yeah, you can call it the part of the integrated liner. So the liner is then like sawed onto the edge of this footboard. This is interesting because you can also take this out, because usually this is like more than 1 millimeter. This is maybe even like 2 or 3 millimeters. And especially with the Seba CJ skates, a lot of people gut it. Gutting means that there's no removable liner, but you just bash into the liner with a knife and cut everything open, and you just take out all the padding on the inside, and then you put a liner in it anyway. And before you put in the liner, you can also take out this, of course, and then what you have to do is take some tape and just tape over all the sharp things. So maybe on the inside there's this cuff bolt and you want to tape a little bit over that, or maybe there is like these sliders here and they have a T-nut and you want to tape a little bit over that to protect your liner. So that's my advice. If you have a soft boot and you want a little bit more room, you can gut it sometimes, and then you can put in, a lot of people do an intuition liner, like the skate that I have. The problem with most soft boots is that they're too flexy, especially if they're below like 300, 400 euros, they're probably way too flexy. And gutting it and putting in an intuition liner makes it more stiff, almost always. The intuition liner is just really nice and really stiff, so it will give you more control if you do that. If you don't want to do it yourself, we have a customizing tool on our website, which you can just add to the shopping cart. If you already have skates, you can bring them by. We have a store in Berlin and we have a store in Amsterdam. We only do this service in Amsterdam though, and you can do it also through our web shop. If you want to hand out the skates to our Berlin shop, we'll send it to our location in Amsterdam and do it here and send it back for you. That's also possible. That's it for the soft boots, what you can do with that. And we're talking about tape. So that's what I actually did with my skates, because I came in here soaking wet from my trip, and before I left, I took out my footboard and I just taped the whole bottom of my skate. You cannot see it probably because it's all black, but I used this tape to just put multiple lines in it. It did not work so good because my foot is still wet, my liner is still wet, but I think it worked better than if I would not have done it at least. And this just motivates me to try it more, because basically I only did the bottom of the skate with tape, but now I'm gonna tape it also a little bit around the edges so that the tape is like a bathtub inside my skate. And I hope it's a bathtub that doesn't let water in from the bottom. Most water comes in from the bottom, at least in my skate, because if you go through the water, it spins, and then it spins exactly here in the middle. A couple more skates have that problem. Like the rollerblade Twister also has these like ventilation holes, and I think Powerslide Imperial, or it's going to be Playlife Imperial now, or there's a couple of skates who have those ventilation holes. When we're talking about skating in the rain, of course making your skate waterproof is one thing, but also it is bad for your bearings. All right. So what does rain actually do? Your bearings, if they are new, they have oil in it and or grease, and this lubricates the bearing and keeps it from wearing down. Metal on metal just grinds itself until there's like dust in it, and if there's like metal dust in the bearing, then it's in like an process, because the metal dust will then also create more metal dust. If there's sand in the bearing, that's really bad, but if there's no lubrication, that's also really bad. So what the rain does is it flushes out all the oil. That's the bad thing about it. It's not that the bearings rust from the rain, it's because the bearings rust because the rain or the water flushes out the oil, and without the oil the bearing rusts. I think I change bearings 3 times a year, maybe less, maybe 2 times a year. Bearings cost €1 at this is our skate shop. We have random bearings on our website, so they are great bearings, the random bearings. So if you have 4 wheels per skate, 2 bearings per wheel, you need 16 bearings. It costs €1 a piece. That's fine for me to be able to skate all year round. So when to replace your bearings, my bearings right now are like making noise like this. Maybe you can hear it on the mic. That means there's no oil in it, and that makes sense because I skated through the rain, and that's fine for me now. Maybe tomorrow when I try to skate, my wheels are stuck a little bit. They cannot move because there's just maybe a little rust, maybe some stuff in it. But if you just push through an old bearing like this for 50 meters, then they start rolling again and there's no problem. Once you're over that edge of not having oil in your bearing, it's actually okay to skate through puddles of water, because the water actually lubricates the bearing as well. So having a totally dry bearing is bad, having a lubricated bearing is better. You can take out the bearing and lubricate it and take all that effort, but for like, what is it, €32 a year for me, I'm not gonna put in that effort. I skate every day. I am gonna skate through this winter, probably on this set of bearings still for a couple of months, and then I'll just change it when they're like completely done. So that's my thoughts about bearings and skating in the rain. My footboard also had a shock absorber in it. Maybe if you follow the channel a little bit, you know that I am not a really big fan of shock absorbers, because they also take away a lot of your control. So every time you push, your energy is lost in the shock absorber. If you want to have a heel raiser, that is important. So I do not advise you to take out the shock absorber and be really flat. It's nice to have a raised heel, but then you want to have like the hardest shock absorber that you can find. We actually measured all the shock absorbers in the Shore hardness scale. We have a little tool for that, and it's also listed on our web shop, so you can find that information and pick like the hardest shock absorber if you want to have the most control, because you don't want to like lose all that in your shock absorber. The best shock absorber though is something that has exactly the shape of your foot. And we over here have a Superfeet customizer tool so that you can heat mold your Superfeet to the shape of your foot. If you have a normal foot, then the normal Superfeet will also be really well. And I'm going to make a little bit of an explanation why a Superfeet is better than a shock absorber. Like, let's say I would hit my arm over here on my bone on the edge of this bench. It would hurt. Right now it hurts already. If I do it harder, it will definitely hurt. But let's say I have a cast around my arm, and then I do it. The impact is divided between the whole area of my hand, and it wouldn't hurt. I could do it like really hard. Okay. So if something is dividing the impact not just from your heel but over your whole foot, because it's in the like correct shape of your entire foot, then this will reduce the impact. So if you're like an aggressive skater and you do a lot of jumps and you think like, yeah, but I need the shock absorber, actually the Superfeet like this is super hard. You cannot bend it. And because it's in the correct shape of your foot, it's actually a better shock absorber. So you can consider, depending on how much room you have in your shell, of course, to take out the shock absorber, put in the Superfeet, or if you can keep the shock absorber, you can take this one out. It's allowed. I will not get mad if you take it out. It's only 1 millimeter, so if you need extra room, you can take it out. If you have a soft boot, you can gut it for extra room. If you want to have less room, you can actually buy a thick one. This is from Rollerblade. We also have it from the Superfeet brand. And this is a couple of millimeters thick. It's called a size reducer. So you put it in your liner or underneath your liner, and then it fills up your shell a little bit better. So that's everything about footboards. If you want to buy a size reducer, you can just find it on our website. The Superfeet, we have it on our website and in our stores, of course, as well. If you want to buy a footboard, we don't have this on our website, but we do have a lot of them. So just send us a message then, and we'll sort you out. If you tell us what length you need, you can also always cut this, so it's really easy to make it smaller, of course. All the shock absorbers are on our website, and you're always welcome to come to our store. We skate every Friday around town, so if you come on Fridays, we can skate together. That's nice. If you want to improve your skills, take a lesson at our academy. That's also possible on any day of the week. And maybe I'll see you here in the store. Maybe I'll see you in Berlin when I'm there. If you like videos like this, of course, subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions about footboards, then drop them in the comments or send our customer support a message. Hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.